Hi everyone, how's everyone doing? I hope you're all doing well, and it's a lovely day today. So I'm in the park and at least you get a nice background. There might be a bit of noise, as I always say when I'm filming in a public space. So what I want to talk about in this video is knowing your worth and setting boundaries in your relationships. This is something that many people struggle with, especially some of the people that come to see me as a counsellor and also for coaching. And the reason people struggle with this, I think, is because a lot of people don't know what it is to, when they experience red flags, they don't always know that they are red flags. The other issue that comes up a lot is people don't necessarily know their value. And if you don't know your value in a relationship and you don't have a strong self-worth and high self-esteem, when someone is mistreating you, you'll put it back on yourself, so you'll have doubts. You'll start to question whether it's you or whether they're right and that sort of thing. So the first thing you need to ask yourself is, if you've ever been in a relationship where there's been red flags or where you've been mistreated, what has prevented you from taking action? What has been the reason that you haven't left? Now, this isn't for criticism or judgment and for you to be harsh on yourself. This is so that you actually, do some reflection and think to yourself, what was it about this situation that I continue to stay there? And maybe it's also helpful because you can then decide what you would do in situations moving forward. Okay, the other thing you have to take into mind is, if you don't feel good about who you are, then you will never have an experience where you can feel valued in a relationship, because you have to love yourself first. You have to feel valued within yourself, because if you love yourself and you've got confidence and you say to yourself, I know how I want to be treated in a relationship, and even from people that you know, from friends, from family, just in general, then when you get into that relationship, you are not then all of a sudden going to crumble, because you already know your standards, and I'll talk about that a little bit more as well. The other thing that you have to bear in mind is, if someone knows that you're not going anywhere, and that's because you're constantly putting ultimatums in place, you're constantly threatening to leave but you never do, that's going to have a massive impact on that person. Has no incentive to stop doing what they're doing. So it's better that you don't say anything at all than you give an ultimatum and say to that person, if you treat me like this again, or if you do that again, then it's over, and then you don't follow through, because it just gives that person more leeway to continue to treat you in that way. So here are 4 things, I've written them down, but I'm going to try not to look down, that I want to say to you, really, if you're in this situation where you don't know how to set boundaries and where you want to get more self-worth in your relationships. The first one is to consider what boundaries you want to set. What boundaries do you feel realistically you can put in place and you can commit to? Don't put boundaries in place that you are not going to stick with. Think of 3 or 4 things that you're going to set standards, boundaries, moving forward. Then understand, if you're not doing them moving forward, why. So start to say to yourself, okay, I've set this boundary now, or these standards, but I'm not following it through. So you need to consider why. The second thing is to recognize your worth, your value, that you are enough. You don't need someone to tell you that. If you get validation coming from within, then you don't need it from without. And I've made videos on that, about creating an internal validation system, that's on here, and also about self-worth. So you need to recognize that you don't need to have someone tell you how valuable you are. You need to tell yourself that. The third thing, and this is something I set with my clients, is to do an exercise where you write down all of the things that you desire and want in a relationship. These are your must-haves. And then you also then put your deal breakers. Now, the reason you do this is because if you know what you want exactly, and then you know what the deal breakers are, then it means that you don't have to think about it. It becomes natural. You say to yourself, this is what I want, and these are deal breakers. So if someone comes along and then they do something which is a deal breaker, you don't have to think about it because you've already considered it. And the final thing is to recognize people don't have to be in your life. It's not a requirement, that it's a privilege. So therefore, if someone is making a decision that they don't need to be in your life, that they're doing something where they've done something wrong, then it's easy for you to turn around and say, do you know what, you're no longer going to be in my life. So that's all I can say on this subject. If you've enjoyed this video, please feel free to leave your comments. Let me know what you think. Please feel free to share this video, and also feel free to give it a thumbs up. I'd appreciate that. Thanks for watching, and see you all soon. Take care. Bye.